Welcome to Across the Tri-State Public Service Programming, brought to you courtesy of 98.3 The Rock Garrison. Good morning. I'm Lisa Jordan. Today on the broadcast, we have a very special guest from our area, Miss Lisa Carroll. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us here at Across the Tri-State. We talk to interesting people all the time, and you are our interesting uh, person to talk to today. We want to share the wealth with the Tri-State about the goings on in our area and those special uh, organizations that meet needs in the Tri-State. Lisa, you are the executive director of God's Hands at Work in Gallia
That's
County. Is
that's
that correct?
correct.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and God's Hands at Work.
Okay. Well, I am a resident here of Gallia County. Have lived here all my life, and I actually founded God's Hands at Work about 11 and a half years ago. Just saw a need in the community, and we had several fires, like three fires within a 24-hour period in two of our counties here locally. And I had always tried to help with things like that. I had a thrift store at the time, so I had clothes and dishes and things like that that a person would need after having a house fire. And I used to just invite them to come in and get whatever they needed. But when we had three fires within one day, it was really more than I could handle within the store by myself. So I just posted on our social media that we would take donations for folks. And um, it just kind of grew from there. The community really got behind that. And it just kind of exploded. And here we are 11 and a half years later, never dreaming that it would look like it does now. But God has been faithful and helped us through every step of the way.
It sounds like you meet needs of those in the community that have went through trauma and have different. I had a friend. You were talking about fires. I had a friend that went through a similar situation, and she relayed to me, Lisa, I didn't even have a toothbrush,
Right,
when I went through this, a pillow, let alone no clothing or anything like that. You forget these things that
right.
we need to be God's hands. It sounds cliche, but we do need to be God's hands at work for our fellow men and women in the community who go through this thing.
Right. We help folks in a variety of situations like that, who are starting over for whatever reason. It may be that they've had a house fire or a flood or something like that. Sometimes it's homelessness, joblessness, because we do live in a very economically depressed area here. And so we've seen cases of child abuse, domestic violence, things like that. So, whatever reason folks are starting over, the drug epidemic in our area is really bad. So, sometimes we're getting grandparents who are getting custody of their grandchildren in the middle of the night due to an incarceration or a drug overdose or things like that. And so they suddenly need dressers and beds and backpacks and clothes and, all the stuff that they didn't need before. And so we provide things like linens, blankets, sheets, towels, that kind of stuff, dishes, pots and pans, furniture, anything a person would need to start over again. All that is donated from the community to us at God's Hands at Work. And then we kind of inventory that, make stock of it, and then folks can come in and apply for whatever their need is. We also have a food pantry, and we do cleaning supplies and personal hygiene items. Like you mentioned, your friend that didn't have a toothbrush. It's when something like that happens, you just house fire, you lose every single thing. So it's everything from a toothbrush to a silverware tray to a trash can to a shower curtain. you know so there's really a lot to consider. Our community has really rallied around this over the last 11 and a half years and helped provide those things. Um, and it's just grown exponentially. And I said we would love to be put out of business. If there were no need anymore, then there wouldn't be a need for our services. But unfortunately, I'm afraid there's always going to be that need there. Um, we serve a very large area, and we serve 5 counties. We serve Gallia, Jackson, Meigs, and Vinton counties in Ohio, and then Mason County, West Virginia. So you're looking at a lot of need, within that large of an area.
Speaking of needs, what is your greatest need there, Lisa, for uh, the nonprofit, for your outreach? What is your greatest need if I were to ask you?
At the moment, it's probably food. We've been purchasing our food from the Southeast Ohio Food Bank for several years. And with all the cuts that are happening everywhere right now, it's very hard for them to even get food to have at the food bank to then, trickle down to us as food pantries. So, um, really canned food and non-perishable food items are our biggest need right now. We always need personal hygiene and cleaning supplies. Those are things that we can't provide on a monthly basis. We do a food box once a month, but we just don't have enough of the personal hygiene and cleaning supplies. So those are held more for someone who is really just starting over for the first time, and they've got to go in and clean up their new place before they can move in, and give them those personal hygiene items the first time. Um, we do have a baby pantry that we do once a month. So that's for new and expectant moms to come in and get whatever they need for a baby. So that's always a big need. We do have a grant with United Way that helps us a little bit with that. And so we provide everything from diapers and wipes and formula clear up to cribs and swings and all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of community partners who come in on that day, so they can sign up for WIC or Help Me Grow or Cribs for Kids, any of those kind of programs that they need. It's just like a one-stop shop, so to speak. So all of these other providers are there on that same day, and it's really wonderful to see the community come together like that to help these new moms.
Now, is there an application process or any kind of guidelines to go by for those maybe that are looking for help?
We do have a short intake process. It literally takes about 3 to 5 minutes. So there's not a paper application. We have software where we do that right there in the office. So they just come in and we basically ask, name, address, phone number, um, birth dates of everyone in the home and who's in the home. And then we do ask for just a ballpark figure of what their income is, but we are not an income based program. We're just need based. So while we do look at their income, just so that we have a picture of demographics for grant process, um, for grant purposes and stuff like that, um, it's not determined by their income. So just a few questions there, and then they're ready to go. They get to go back and pick out their items, their furniture, and their linens and stuff like that. So we call it shopping. Of course, there's no money involved, but we have volunteers who go back and help them with that process. You asked earlier about probably our biggest need, and that is volunteers a lot. It takes a lot of volunteers to make our service center run. We have over 5,000 square foot building, and it is just cram packed
Mm.
full of stuff waiting for folks. And we have volunteers who walk them through that process. So that's always a big need. If anybody's looking for a volunteer opportunity, we have lots of those.
Well, that was my next question, honestly. I guess if I have a rhetorical question today, this was put before me before we got together. If you had an opportunity with an unlimited budget, if you, as the executive director, had a wish list, you might say, and money was no object, what would it look like to God's hands at work?
Oh my. I don't know if I can even dream that big. We would love to own our building where we're at. We just lease that right now. And so We have had to move several times through that 11 and a half years. I think, well, we've moved 3 times now. We just moved into this location in February of this year. We had some flooding at our old location and required us to move. So it's a really big job to move all that. So
Mhm.
to have our own place would be wonderful, but just to have the supply of, not having to worry about where the food is coming from, or um, the personal hygiene things and the things for babies, um, and honestly, God is so good, and He's been um, provided for us so wonderfully that it's not really something that I do worry a lot about. Sometimes I do have concern where we're going to pay, because we operate solely on donations from the community and the fundraisers that we do. So sometimes you wonder, where the money's coming from for that next electric bill. But I do know that I can trust him completely to provide for that. So, but to have that lifted a little bit would be wonderful.
Well, we serve a great big God, don't we?
Yes, we
And
do.
he's certainly able. I'm reminded of the children of Israel in the wilderness when the donations just kept coming and coming and coming, and the Lord had to put a stop to it, or Moses had to say, "That's enough," I pray that blessing upon your ministry there at God's Hands at Work.
Thank
If
you.
you, had someone who would like to volunteer, Lisa, or maybe would like to give, who's not aware about your location and where they can find more information about you and the ministry, where could they go? How could they get in touch with you?
Okay. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, both, and I update those multiple times a day. So all of our information is on there. That's under God's Hands at Work, both on the group and the page. And then we do have a website. It's godshandsatwork.org. So all of our upcoming events are listed there, and there's a link there if someone would like to make a donation by PayPal. There's a PayPal link there on our Facebook page. We're located at 1498 State Route 850, and that's Bidwell, Ohio. And then our phone number, if anybody would want to give us a call and come in and take a tour, we love to show what God's doing there. Our phone number is 740-645-7609, and they could call anytime. We're only open 2 days a week to the public, which is on Mondays from 10 to 4 and Thursdays from 2 to 6. But we're there pretty much every day, restocking and cleaning and this and that. So we just can't get much done when we're open. So we have to be there, some other days to get that kind of stuff done. But they can reach out to us anytime, and we'd love to show them around and show them what God's up to.
I love that, and I love spending time with you. Thank you, Lisa. Keep in touch with us here at The Rock. If there anything we can do to help God's Hands at Work and get the word out, or if you have any information or news or anything, please reach out to us and keep in touch with us here at 98.3 The Rock. It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
so
Thank you.
much.
We'll
Thank you
see
for
you.
the opportunity.
You keep in touch, and God bless until we meet again.
Thank you. Bye bye.